It is Transformer Tuesday today, and we have just concluded the Hasbro Pulse Transformers fan stream. We had BMAC and we had Evan. They were showing us all the brand new Transformer product. Kudos to them. Most of them we have not seen for the very first time. Some stuff did leak out 24 hours before from the Chinese message boards, but otherwise, everything else was brand new to us to see for the very first time. And we're going to jump into it like we always do here on the Transformer Slag podcast. Between all the reveals, the 86 stuff, the collab stuff, I figure we're going to probably do multiple segments today on the podcast. So stay tuned. We're going to be doing this one, and then you'll have another one later today covering all the other stuff. Because there was stuff that wasn't in the fan stream here that was revealed too from a collaboration standpoint. So we'll talk about it and cover it all. But let's jump into it. BMAC, Evan, going right into the 86 and Studio Series products. So we're going to start with Studio Series 86 Core Class, Generation 1 Steeljaw. This is a Hasui-san design, building up your blaster collection of cassettes. I see what they're doing here because you have a core class cassette and you have something like Steeljaw where they had to include a large accessory to really justify bolstering out that price point. And I think this is something we're going to see more of where you're going to have cassette characters and they're going to have accessories to justify that price point, because prior to that, cassettes were usually in 2-packs. They were part of that MicroMaster price point. And since that doesn't exist anymore, and now we have the core class, which isn't really the same thing, they have to figure a way to balance it out. And it works out great because if you give accessories, you're able to use your bulk characters to have more, pieces and parts. And I like what they did here because Steeljaw comes with a big speaker weapon, which we'll get into a moment, its significance there. But first they wanted to address the fact that while he does come with his accessories, he comes with his 2 little blaster wing things. They weren't able to make the gold for his eyes to make it screen accurate because they felt that when they did the deco for it with the molded in plastic of the orangey gold, it just didn't pop well in photography and even in person. So they went with the traditional blue eyes that most Autobot characters had in the original G1 show, and they just kind of stuck with that. I'm pretty sure there could probably be a repro label sheet that could bring that back the other way if you truly want to have your 100% screen accuracy. He comes with that big speaker accessory, which Hasui-san was like, hey, we could use that as a weapon that could be mounted on the back of Steeljaw. But what it really is it's an accessory to be used with your blaster figure, whether it be the Kingdom one, whether it be the Legacy version that got repacked later, whether it be the Studio Series 86 one that's right on shelves right now, and that has that co-synergy with packaging and product that's already out there. And this is, of course, a nod to the Season 2 episode Autobop, where Blaster and Soundwave had a battle, and Blaster had these 2 big speakers on his hands that he was using as weapons. This probably gives people an excuse to buy 2 Steeljaws, because that way you could get 2 speakers to recreate it properly. And, of course, because it's a 5mm peg and it's primarily designed to work with Blaster, it fits right on Blaster's hands. So really cool stuff. Really dig that. Blaster, it was my first Transformer, so I have a little bit of a bias for this, but I'm very excited about this one. Probably going to get 2 of them just to have the two little speakers. And then I'll just have an extra Steeljaw that I'll probably sell at a parts party or something. Either way, what else do we got? We have the Deluxe class Decepticon Trooper Gamer Edition, Studio Series Gamer Edition 08, more Gamer Edition stuff. Surprisingly, a brand new tooling from the ground up. It wasn't just a partial from a barricade or something like that. This is a Shusan and Evan design. The colors were originally going to be based off of the concept art of how the troopers were, but when Evan played the video game and saw that the troopers had more of a greenish kind of color scheme to them, they went with how they looked in the game as opposed to concept art and I guess art book art, which was actually incorrect to their game counterparts. So they really wanted to make sure that it looks like the video game. It's a troop builder thing. They're starting to do more troop builder stuff, so it's going to be interesting to see how many people buy how many of these to build up your displays of that amazing Transformers video game, if not the best Transformers video game ever made. And just really cool. I dig that they, you could still remove the wrist to elbow accessory to plug in the weapon to make it more screen accurate. It just looks awesome, and I'm very curious what they're going to use that mold for later on. There's, it's one of those open-ended tooling where we might not see it looking at it, but they might get a whole bunch of other characters out of it later. So very cool one. Really appreciate that it's new tooling and not just, oh, let's take Barricade and partial it. We got a Voyager class Studio Series Bumblebee movie, 113 Voyager class Skywarp. It's a Seeker jet. Seekers are here, repaints for years, you know. So it's a Sam design with Kuniharu-san. They based the design and colors because they used the Blitzwing head on this one. They based the design and colors off of the early concept art. That's why while it is a Skywarp, it has kind of a different take on a Skywarp coloring as opposed to deep blacks and everything like that with the purples. So it's pretty cool still. I dig it. I like how it looks here. It's a Seeker. It's a big, beefy Seeker, and it builds your collection even more of those Seeker jets from the Bumblebee movie. And then we have here a Leader Class 86 Springer. This is probably, in my opinion, the winner of everything that's been shown here. Studio Series 8630, Leader Class 86 Springer. Hasui-san with Evan worked on this. Evan said that this was kind of a blow-up of the Siege mold, which was a Voyager class, but, you know, did a whole bunch of partials and new tooling around it to quote, make it bigger, better, and taller. New head, new chest, new shoulders. And while Evan didn't mention this, even looking at it next to my Siege Springer, I'm like, there's new thighs on this. There's a lot of stuff going on here that really it's almost a new figure at the end of the day. It really is using the Siege Springer as its foundation and then building up from that in a Leader class. And man, does he come with a lot of accessories with that new tooling. Like, he has the missile that he has from when he shot it at Devastator in the 86 movie, the famous I got better things to do tonight than die line. It has a port on the back so you could put a blast effect so it could be flying in the air before it hits Devastator. He has a animation accurate gun, but what's kind of funny with this animation accurate gun is it could also be used technically with Ultra Magnus from and you're going to die today just like and you'll die trying just like Galvatron. Or just like Megatron, you know, recreating that because accidentally in the animation, Ultra Magnus was holding Springer's gun in that scene. Hey, maybe he picked up Springer's gun during the whole skirmish, and, you know, so maybe it's not an animation accurate. Maybe it's just, you know, Ultra Magnus grabbed his gun. And of course, you know, you see, you know, later on the gun is, you know, correctly put in his animation hand during the Junkion battle, but you could, you know, you could take the gun from this Springer, put it in your Commander Class 86 Ultra Magnus, and then you got a screen accurate, animation accurate moment there from the movie. He also comes with an animation accurate sword from when he fought with Wreck-Gar, so that's pretty cool on the Planet of Junk as well as in the commercial there too. And but he also has a toy accurate gun because every single Springer up to this point, really, the helicopter blades turned into his sword. So the fact that it comes with two swords for screen accuracy and toy accuracy, that's a really nice touch. 2 extra blaster accessories to put on the 5mm pegs. The gun that came with the Siege tooling is there too. And then because they even had more space on the tooling for the mold, Hasui-san was like, why don't we just include the Wrecker's hammer with it just as an extra thing? So that's fantastic also. Like, what a pack of stuff. This is going to be such a must-get figure for Transformers G1 fans. And then on top of it all, with all that tooling, with all that, you know, slavish loyalty to the 86 movie, that one scene in the 86 movie where he has a little wrist blaster, you know? And he just like, it just pops up. You see it for 5 seconds. They put the tooling on his wrist to have that wrist blaster and even has a tiny blast effect so you could even put something there. It's like half a second and it's there and it's in the movie. I think it was the famous line was, we're outnumbered, and he shoots that blaster, you know, so that little wrist blaster. So that's, what a great product. I mean, this is definitely the winner of the bunch. Shout out to David Cabal, the #1 Springer fan in the world. He's probably very excited about this. So awesome stuff. Absolutely love it. Then we have, and this might be the up to the then the down, but then we also have the reveal of the Deluxe Class 86 29 Bumblebee. This is a Hasui-san design, and it's going to be part of what we read on the listings as the A+ series. Now, we started to learn from the Orion packs from Transformers 1 the Optimus Prime. The A Plus series listings, what those imply that these are characters that when they ship, they come in a solid case of 8 alone. That way it ensures that there's plenty of that product or that character on the shelves, and it doesn't just disappear right away by being 2 per case, as opposed to something, people scalp them and take them. So these are going to be solid cases of 8. No difficulty there. They probably saw what happened with the Netflix one and how that was crazy in the secondary market. Now let's talk about the design itself. So they wanted something that was more of that Microman screen accurate scale. I appreciate that. I said that pretty much. I imagine what they were going to do was how, Netflix one was Masterpiece 1, which was more of a full-size Volkswagen. And I imagine that this one would be something that's more like the Masterpiece 2.0, the MP45, that's going to have something that's more of that Penny Racer Microman scale, which is how he was depicted in the show. There's no parts forming as a result, which is really nice. There's some great engineering that the front end of the Autobot logo disappears when you put it into robot mode. That was a little plan that Hasui wanted to have, where it could be screen accurate in both alt mode and the other one, and the Autobot logo just isn't tacked on there. But I think that, just the shape of it in the alt mode is what makes people kind of go, because you could clearly see that this was designed where, because of the top end of the vehicle, the roof, if you will, that if you just change the front end, which makes the feet, you could get all those other characters out of it. Picture changing those front feet that are very Volkswagen-like and making it that Porsche design, and you got your cliff jumper. Do a little different more, and you got your hubcap. Do a little different more, and you probably got bumper and everyone else. You know how this is going to be. There's going to be many, 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 many repaints and retools from this. And I think the limitations that are making people kind of go, with the top of the roof, which isn't very round and Volkswagen-like, was done on purpose to make the opening to do a whole bunch of other stuff. Not to mention, and I also think another reason why this looks the way it looks in the alt mode, it doesn't have the Volkswagen trademark anywhere on the box. So I think they had to do something that is not like the Volkswagen Beetle, so they didn't have to pay a trademark. When you look at that MP45 2.0, that was going for that Penny Racer style, the more Microman kind of Penny Racer look, as opposed to the MPO1, it had a big old Volkswagen logo right on the front of the box. And it's the same thing with the Netflix one. They had to say, hey, Volkswagen, thanks a lot, So I think they had to take it safe so they didn't have to pay the Volkswagen thing. I mean, personally, I feel maybe you should have. I mean, it's Bumblebee. If you're going to be doing a solid case of 8, you're acknowledging that this is going to sell and do well. But at the same time, the flip side of it, I see what they're trying to do. This is also for the tooling for the future, for all the other repaints, the cliff jumpers, the hubcaps, the glyph, the tap outs, the bumpers. They'll do some throttlebot tooling with this. Who knows where this is going? But this isn't the last we'll see of this mold. If anything, this is just the beginning of multiple years, for sure. So take from that what you will. Some people hate it, some people like it. But at the end of the day, I know where they're going with this. And the last thing we're going to be covering is going to be the PulseCon exclusive. This is going to be a Hasui-san and Evan design. We knew about it because of the leaks online. Let's talk about Straxus. Man, oh man, good old Straxus. No surprise, partial off of the Leader Class Kingdom Galvatron. Super comic book accurate with the coloring. The alt mode is fantastic. I love how they retooled everything to make the alt mode match well. I love how he comes with his axe accessory, but they tooled the axe accessory that when it's put on the alt mode, it has those little wings on the top to make it match how it looked in the comic. They clearly made a big effort here. I mean, Evan busts out like his own personal issue of issue number 17 from his first appearance in the comics, and clearly him and Hasui were just pulling from those panels, the coloring, the reds, the blues, the sculpt and everything, and it just does a fantastic job. I'm quite surprised how well they pulled it off, and I'm very excited about it. And the front of the box is based off of issue number 18 of the comics, which was his first comic book cover appearance, so that's pretty hyped too. I mean, what a fantastic figure this turned out to be. I mean, again, when we get these kind of characters where they finally get their just deserves of a release, there's been a few Straxuses throughout the years with the Dark Mount and everything, but to get something that really looks like he does in the comics. And it's a love letter to that, and they put the effort and the tooling. That's fantastic. If anything, I almost feel like they had this plan from day one with the Galvatron, and that's why they were kind of making the Galvatron the way it was, so you could have that opening one day to do that. All that extra accessories that Galvatron came with, that was space on the tooling to make room one day when you do a partial and you're going to do something else. So love it. I think that's great. We also got a shot of the side of his box with the spine and everything, with all that great art and everything. And that's something where you have Marcelo, who did the spine art, and it looks really good, but they were teasing. You know, you have BMAC and you have Evan there, and they're like, well, there's a little gold hand on the side of Marcelo's artwork there. And that gold hand, you know, it could be somebody. And Evan said that it was a character that when they pitched it to the team, they were kind of confused by it. So it's obviously not going to be a more A tier or B tier character. It's probably someone more obscure. The question is who it is. You have like a gold hand with a little bit of red there. So is it Emerald Zaron? You know, he has a gold hand, not really much red, but there is a gold hand there. I mean, it could be maybe G1 Comic Book Flame, that obscure Autobot tank character that kind of, you know, but he had like a red hand and goldish. I don't know. Like, it could be one of many things. Could be, you know, G1 Comic Book Rodimus Prime, but he's more of a top tier character and he wasn't really used that much in the book outside of the UK stuff. So it's kind of hard to say. BMAX says that when this character is going to be shown in the panorama, it's going to make much more sense, and he will be the final of these 4 that we will be seeing. So we'll see what happens with that. I mean, all of these up to this point have been leader classes, so it's probably going to be another leader class repaint retool. But we'll see. Let me know what you think with that one. Could be Emerald Zaron, could be, you know, could be Flame. We'll see what happens with it. But that's it more or less for the reveals that they showed us. We do have other stuff to talk about because there is collaboration items that were revealed, some other items too that weren't in the stream. So that'll be in the second segment here today. So stay tuned here on the Transformers Slag podcast. Let me know what you think about all of these. We've got some really cool stuff shown off. All of these pre-orders, with the exception of the Bumblebee, will be dropping today at 1 p.m., which is probably by the time you're hearing my voice, except the Bumblebee. So stay tuned for that. We're going to keep you posted with everything else, and we'll hope to see you in the very next segment.